Okay, give everybody a few minutes. What's going on? Happy Wheel Wednesday. If you have any questions, anything you want to have answered within the realm of answerable questions, go ahead and throw them in. We'll be happy to try to answer them. We hope that you're having a good week. It's starting to get a little colder up here in the Northeast, and that's disappointing because it means we're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from cars immediately going back to their storage homes. So that kind of sucks. Aside from that, we are heavy into SEMA right now. Man, we are about a week away before we head off to Las Vegas, and we're just trying to get everything dialed in. We're excited to bring you some interesting stuff this year. Probably everything you've talked about, why didn't we do previously. We are looking to debut a lot of stuff at SEMA. It's going to be a pretty heavy debut year for us. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you look to the Monday before the show. I believe that date is the 30th, October 30th. Sometime that evening, maybe a little bit later on the East Coast or whatever, we are going to go live and we're going to give you a sneak peek of all the product that we're dropping for SEMA before the show starts on Tuesday. So, you know, kind of for rolling with us, we kind of give you a little inside sneak peek, and we will do some questions and stuff like that live on the show floor, providing we have enough internet access. That's happened to us before the show starts. We don't necessarily always have the best reception. We'll do our best to go live. We'll answer questions. We'll show you the product, and we'll try to give you as much detail about that product, since we'll be showing you kind of the first look before anybody else. So that's interesting. But aside from that, we are moving through. Don't forget, Friday we have a piece of content coming up. I believe we are doing what?
You're doing a car anatomy on Jeff Donati's builds.
Okay, Jeff Donati, he certainly had in the last round of Pro Spec. He's a Formula Drift driver in the last round of Pro Spec. Took the podium. We've been with Jeff for quite a while, so it's nice to see him kind of get some accolades and make it to the top. By the way, shout out to Nick Novak, who won round 8 at Irwindale of Formula D this past weekend. Really incredible driving right from qualifying all the way through. And then on top of that, our deepest congratulations and kind of well wishes to Chelsea Denofa. Man, has he made an impact on this sport. And you know, Chelsea's a really nice guy and really passionate about what he does. So shout out to Chelsea and his whole team for just absolutely bringing the competition up another realm, and what a cool thing to go out on top. Very interesting to see where he lands up and what he's doing next. Trust me, Chelsea is not one of those guys that is complacent. So I promise you, he's moving. He's trying to do something different, something cool.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So Q&A. Anything you got question-wise, let's do it.
We got Motion Auto TV. It's Wheel Wednesday indeed.
What's up, Trevor? What's happening? How are you?
Trevor also says, can't wait to see the booth at SEMA.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that you're going. I didn't know you were going, but like, yeah, definitely come hang out because there's some stuff, dude. There's some stuff.
We got Function Works asking, what's your SEMA booth number this year?
Oh, damn, I usually know that, but Richie's been doing more of that stuff than I have this year. Well, let me put it this way. When you walk into South Hall, you're going to walk down the stairs and look to your right. We're the first booth that's going to be off into the right. We kind of went a little smaller this year. We downsized a little bit just because, you know, so much expense for, you know, arguably the ROI. But we're right there on the right. When you walk down the stairs, look to the right, you'll see us. We'll be there.
Jose John asks, any chance you could tell us right now what you're bringing to SEMA?
I mean, of course, there's always a chance. I don't think it's going to be happening. I will tell you that there are a fair amount of new wheels, and it's pretty exciting. I will tell you that we were working right down to the time we got. Like I'm literally, when I came from my office, you know, to do the live, I was still working on finalizing some touches on some certain accessories and different things. So kind of cool. I don't know that we've ever been down to the last minute like this, but with having so much product comes a lot of time that it takes to develop it. So that's kind of where we're at.
We got Jimmy Spacers, great name, asking any chance of any forged updates.
Yeah, so I would say in just about a week or so, you're going to have all the update that you need. Tune into October 30th. Make sure you set the notifications up to see when we go live, because on October 30th, we will go live from the SEMA show floor, and you're going to get not only the update that you want, you're going to hear some really cool news, and you're going to see some really cool things, and I promise you, you don't want to miss that.
Jose Cuz 71 asks, any 6 and 5.5 for a lowered Silverado?
Yeah, so tell me what you're looking for, man. Like elaborate, because the one thing that happens when we start talking about truck is there's so many different segments that you can go to, and I want to be able to match the product to you. Like we do have an off-road line, Mamba Wheels, MAMBA Wheels.com. That's more of the traditional off-roady type of stuff. We have some pretty cool stuff that I think is going to be dropping at the SEMA show that I think is going to be interesting. I already gave a hint I shouldn't have given, but anyhow, so there's some stuff there. But yeah, I mean, we do have some stuff, so just give me some details to help you out.
We got Victory 9 asking, black wheel behind you?
Black wheel behind me. Let's look. That is a Konig Diverge. Really good looking wheel. It's in our main line. It's a great looking wheel. Spokes are like really well proportioned, kind of gives that really thin look, but it's a stout wheel. It has a little bit higher of a load rating, so good reliability, especially if you're going to be daily driving the car. So
perfect follow-up question. He also
Yeah.
asks, would that fit an RS? I'm thinking full Focus RS is what he's asking.
Focus RS. If it's a Focus RS, the answer to that is yes, and I know that because
Simple Builds.
Right, Simple Builds. He had run it on his RS. There's a whole channel that he has where you can go to YouTube right now, look for Simple Builds on YouTube, and he did that exact car with that exact wheel. So good for you. You get to see exactly what it's
Looked great
like.
too.
A lot of exactly's in that sentence.
That looked great too, because the
Yeah.
Diverge allows a lot of the brake to be visible. So
Yeah, for
Brembos.
sure. So you can see those blue calipers really well.
Function enough. Guys, I'm running out of questions to ask, so if it gets weird, just go with it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, thank you for being here. We got CLT Brian in the house.
What's up, man?
What up,
How are
Brian?
you?
We got Jimmy G93. Is it possible to special order ampliforms in silver?
No. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It just means that, like, for you to order 4 wheels, it's not possible. Now, let me tell you the caveat to this. If you find a local dealer that is into possibly doing something in a group buy, special order, or something like that, or even just says, hey, look, I know that would work really well, we can bring them in, then you can do that, because we will do like runs of 48 to 60 wheels if it's somebody gets behind it and kind of wants to be in charge of it, but it's not something we would take an order for 4 wheels for and do.
C. Stewart says, really enjoyed the last week's video.
Oh,
Which
that's
one was
cool.
last week's?
Well, you're asking me. You're the one that
Last
does this
week's
stuff.
was, why don't we make this wheel in your size?
Why don't we make this wheel in your size?
So
yeah.
hopefully that helps.
So that was like, we're trying to come up with things that we get asked a lot and try to give reference and kind of bring some insight as to why certain things happen. And, one of the things I think a lot of times people lose touch with is the fact that there is a reason that maybe we don't make a wheel in 5 and 100 or 5 120 or 5 130, and a lot of those reasons are about making the product that sits in between those really good. And to make the product really good, sometimes that requires us to kind of weed out what we think may not be the most popular patterns to be able to focus in and make a better product for the stuff that we do make. So check out the video. It's on YouTube, and it will kind of answer a lot of those questions.
Motion Auto TV asks, what's the best wheel in your opinion for a Mark IV Supra?
Well, Trevor set me up. I mean, I still like the hypergrams that we did on your car at SEMA that one year. I think that you have a lot of option. What the cool thing about what you did, Trevor, when you set up your Mark IV is that you made it so that you could take the right wheels choices. But a lot of the guys that are running the stock Supras and stuff like that, without having really, I know you can do a lot of body modifications, but a lot of the guys, they want to run stuff that's higher offset, or they cap out at 9.5, even though that you've seen those guys really, run that really, really wide stuff in the rear. The car has the ability to run a good wheel range. It's just a question of whether people are comfortable enough either doing it or making the modifications to kind of make it work or putting the right suspension choices in and stuff like that. And that's where the car kind of gets that wide wheel ability. So
Function Work says perfect. Thank you for the answer.
no problem.
We got Subi Boy 2085, loving the podcast lately.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Moist McCann, will we
Ooh.
ever see decograms in chrome?
Will we ever see decograms in chrome? No. First thing is we don't make anything in chrome. It's super bad for the environment. And I wish I could tell you that we're like the most environmentally friendly company, but that's not really why. It's because it becomes really hard to do in a way that's proper, and it comes with a lot of regulation to do it. So we don't do anything in chrome. We do a finish called hyperchrome. Hyperchrome as in the finish that's on the countergram, and the countergram has a machine lip as well. But that finish, I mean, I guess it's possible if we chose to do it. However, that is a full paint finish, and the good thing about the full paint finish is that it's much more reliable and safe than a chrome wheel. Chrome wheels don't have a long life ahead of them. They tend to, when they start to go bad or they have nicks or different things that allows the environment under the chrome, they tend to peel or sheet or pit, and there's really no good solution, and good luck trying to find somebody to re-chrome things anymore. It's almost impossible. I mean, you have to send it away. There's no local guys anymore.
CLT Brian, can y'all take me to SEMA with you?
Nope, but you can certainly show up, and who knows, maybe you'll find your way in.
We got Jay Zilla Track Days in the house.
What's up, man? How are you? Man, super excited. Jay Zilla events, man. They do some really cool racing stuff. You don't know about them, I'm sure you do, but if you don't know about them, check them out. Cool people down there.
Great name, Blazin' Asian, saying, can I get free wheels, please?
No, unless you have some other reason we should, right?
No, but maybe. But probably not.
Maybe, yeah, right. That was, I think Max summed it up best. I think no, but maybe, but probably not.
But maybe.
Look, here's the thing. We've done sponsorship content galore. It's on our YouTube channel. You want to find out how to put together a proposal. You want to find out what you should have in your proposal. You want to find out the pieces that you're missing to be able to be considered for a proposal, all on our YouTube channel. Go to our channel, KONIG WHEELS USA, search sponsorship on our channel, and you will get a lot of videos that will come up to give you good context and content. However, I will say this, that sponsorship is a value exchange. So you better have some value to exchange, because at the end of the day, if we gave away everything free to everybody, we wouldn't be here in time for SEMA.
Blueberry saying, hey guys.
What's happening, man?
What's up, Blueberry? CLT Brian Scott, Koenig needs a overland demo car.
I see where you're going with this, man. Why? What do you got?
Motion Auto TV, let's film a podcast at SEMA.
That'd be sick. Yeah, if you're down, let's do it. I'd love to do that.
He also says this quality is top notch.
Oh,
We're
nice.
trying out some new lighting. I think that's what maybe.
Yeah, Max is the magician behind the quality and the looks and stuff. Even the podcast clips. I don't know if you guys haven't been seeing them. The podcast clips, we've been trying to, we've had a podcast for years, right? And we do it every week.
How many years?
It's got to be almost 3 now, right? We just lost a red guy.
That's all right.
Is that one of the new ones?
Yeah.
Was it fully charged or not?
I'm testing to see how long the batteries last before.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
we got some lights that we're playing with, and the one just went. So sorry. So anyhow, So anyhow, so we've had so Max, was kind of coming up with a new look and different things, and one of the things that we were thinking about is, how do we repurpose some of these clips that kind of show the type of things we talk about. I think it's really hard to imagine a company have a podcast and never do like plugs. Like the podcast is all car talk. Like we're just car people talking about car stuff, and we want people to come and put their opinion in, and so it's not like we do these big, every once in a while we'll do something about a wheel or something like that on the podcast because maybe it's a time sensitive kind of thing, like it came out, we know people are gonna ask questions, but for the most part it's just car conversations. So Max was coming up with a way to kind of put these clips up and kind of drag more attention to the fact that we don't just talk about wheels, you know what I mean? Anyhow, so if you haven't listened to it yet, please do. We try to have some cool conversations. We're on all the podcast things that I could think of. Stitcher, iHeartMedia, iTunes, Google Play, what else am I missing? Spotify? Yeah.
And we're not trying to sell you. It's just talking cars.
I mean, there's nothing to
Yeah.
buy. It's a podcast.
We
You know what I
got,
mean? Like, there's
yeah.
nothing to buy.
No.
It's a podcast.
We got Michael Wynn asking you personally, favorite tire brand?
I think it depends. I'm a situational tire guy, right? Like, well, no, let me
That
explain.
makes
I'll
sense.
explain. I'll
Yeah.
explain. But like for me, like on all my daily cars, like no, I shouldn't really say that. On a lot of my daily cars that I'm driving, like whatever, I use a lot of Falcon stuff. I find it to be the greatest bang for the buck, and I think they make a pretty good tire, especially all season stuff. When it comes down to like my Z and maybe some of the other cars that I'll run in more of a road course setting or occasional track use or whatever, I tend to use the Nitto stuff. I've had a pretty good relationship with them for many, many, many years. They're good people. The tires are very good because we all know that it's part of the bigger family that I won't mention because I don't want to stir anything. But they make great tires. I think that if you are at a level of getting into certain exotics, R35, stuff like that, you may find yourself in the ability to maybe run, and I've done it before too, like a Michelin, a Pilot Sport, a Cup 2 or something like that. They're great tires. They're very, very expensive. And on top of being very, very expensive, I find with Michelins that you get like 50% of really good, sticky, usable tire, and the last 50% seems to progressively get harder, and because of that, you kind of don't get the full life of the tread. So, anyhow, I might have digressed a little bit here, but there's a lot of great tires. I mean, you have Pirellis that make some really great tires. You have Kumo, who makes some really good budget tires, but also those tires are have a lot of good components. I ran them for years. And you'd be surprised how good those tires really were, even in a road racing setting. And then, there's just a lot of different other types of tires out there that are, that I haven't played with that I think are pretty good. So,
Jimmy G93, where can I find inspiration pictures of heliogram in a 19 by 10.5 B? Most of these wheels online are smaller A concave profile wheels.
Okay, well, so here's what I will say to you. If you look at our image gallery on our website, if you just go to the media tab on the product page for the heliogram, look at a B profile. All the B profiles are as concave as possible. So I think you'll be in good shape there. If you find a B, that's roughly what it's going to look like. 19-inch versus 18-inch, maybe there's a slight difference as far as the exact slope, but it's still very, very close to the eye when you're looking at it on a car. So I would say do that. I understand what you're saying about the A versus the B, but I believe that on our website we should have some cars sporting that example.
We also have a couple YouTube
Travis
videos.
Reeder's, by the way, Travis, if you're not really sure, go Google Travis Reeder. He's a Formula Drift pro driver, and they're on the rear of his BMW. As A on the front, B on the rear. So,
couple YouTube videos on our YouTube where we've done car anatomies where they have a really wide heliogram, namely Steve Anstey WRX.
Right,
He's
that's
running
it.
the
That was the 18 by 12.
Yeah.
Again, B profile should be this similar, so that would be a good indication.
Motion Auto TV, lots of great content on the KONIG Wheels YouTube channel.
Man, I appreciate that. Man, I really feel like, like Max, Rich, even me randomly popping in a little bit here and there, but like, look, we're trying to grind some stuff out that, we feel people want to see. Obviously, it's, better than anybody that it's a tough job kind of come up with a lot of content, especially when, we're not a build series. We have nothing, like no new projects to kind of go through, but we appreciate that's a pretty high compliment
100%.
coming from you.
CLT Brian, what was with Jay Zilla this past Sunday? Always an awesome time. There was a Dodge van out there gapping Corvettes.
That's sick. That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like you ever see there's this one Toyota, well, I mean, obviously Bisimoto has that really cool Odyssey, right? Was it
Okay.
Odyssey that he did?
I'm
Or was
not
it
sure.
Odyssey? Was it Honda? Yeah, I think it was an Odyssey. But there's also like so many people I've seen do really cool swaps like in Siennas.
Okay.
I think that's super sick.
Nice.
I really like Siennas. I wish I wanted one.
Are they
like,
all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive?
No, they're front-wheel drive, I believe.
Okay.
There may be all-wheel drive models. In
I
fact, I'm
think
pretty sure there are.
Jay Zilla says, we'll have cars for you guys next year. Just show up.
All right, there you go.
Sweet. We got Anti FK7. What's a good wheel for my FK7 hatch?
You have really a lot of choices, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the thing about that, that platform. Like, there's a lot of choices. I think it really comes down to what's your personal preference. hit the website, come up with a personal preference, come up with kind of, I would say, listen, we've done a video on our YouTube channel that actually starts with how do you kind of pick the right wheel for your car, and one of those things is actually how do you get started. I find the easiest way to get started with anything is by narrowing it down kind of in this order. One, start to figure out what diameter you want in your car. And when I say that, look, the internet is filled with pictures of these all over all over the place. You just have to see with the right size tire, kind of what diameter you want to go with and what your daily use is going to be. If you're in a harsh environment, go a little smaller. If you're in a really easy driving climate, you can go with something a little bigger if you choose. The next thing I say is try to figure out what your overall stance should look like, because if you're looking for something that is going to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe you're going to go into the lower offset side, maybe something a little wider. Do you want it to fit well? Do you want to be able to make modifications? What's your comfort level with your fit? These are things I think if you figure out first, choosing a wheel starts to really narrow down and it will become much easier.
Daniel Guamon's asking or saying hello and then asking,
hey,
where are you located?
I'm in New York.
Yeah.
I guess that answers your question.
CLT Brian, don't forget about those Mucho Macho tires.
Mucho Machos, right? Yeah, exactly.
Is the Linglong? Is that what he's saying? The
no,
Linglong tires?
well, so look, here's the thing. I'm going according to my experience. I don't necessarily always have mucho experience.
Cool comment from Blue Breed. Planning on building a Pro-Am car next year. Not sure what I want to run for wheels yet, though.
That's interesting.
Very cool.
What kind of car are you building?
Very cool. Well,
have you done a lot of sim drifting? Just curious.
I think they have, actually.
Yeah,
I know they do a lot of, they upload a lot of those videos. We'll get a final question or final call for questions below. Anyone there? Podcast today?
Yep.
Question mark?
Podcast today. I think it was Rich and Doubt, right?
It's a good one.
What
did
they talk about?
One. They talked about basically they took the new Nissan Z and they took the Nismo Z and they looked at the base model and see that there's a $23,000 difference between the base and the Nismo. So is it worth getting the Nismo, paying the $23,000, or would you rather buy the base and do bolt-ons and suspension and have plenty of money to work with after?
Right. So it's an interesting conversation. It's kind of like, do you buy a base car, save some money, put that money into modifications, or do you buy kind of a better spec car right off the bat?
Well, you're a Z guy. What would you do?
I think for me, when you start talking specifically about the Nismo, to me, owning a Nismo edition car isn't about the mods.
It's about the badge.
Well, I mean, you could say it like that, but I think it's like when you buy a Nismo edition car, hopefully you're buying a numbered car. I mean, if you're going to buy, like to me, I probably wouldn't buy anything like that just for the use of it. If I was going to keep the car for a long time, if I wanted to have the more, limited edition with all the cool little touches that I knew that because look, here's the thing that I always drives me nuts, even with my Z. Like, there's a lot of Nismo pieces that you can buy for the car. But, like, it doesn't feel good for me putting a Nismo badge on my car when it's not a Nismo. If I'm going to have a Nismo badge on the car, I want it to be a Nismo car, right? Like that's just the way it is.
You could probably make the argument that the Nismo come resale, when you go to turn around and sell it, will hold its value better than
Yeah,
base.
I mean, I think that may work with some things. Like, I think, R32, 33, 34s, 35s, like, I think there's a good level to that. For maybe the Z's, I think it's like arguably yes, but I think a lot of it depends on the condition of the car. Just because I think that there wasn't so much done to that Nismo edition, and it wasn't so rare that on the Z's that it became like this collector's thing. You know what I mean? Maybe it will change in the future, though.
We'll do a few more questions here.
Yeah, sure.
We got Resurrection Motorsports on YouTube asking, have you guys sponsored any drag racers? I see the Flowform wheels are a lot lighter than most of the street track wheels, which has piqued my interest.
Yeah, so the answer to that is yes. I mean, do I know actively that we're sponsoring a lot of drag people, of recent? No, but that's because I honestly, in comparison, to a lot of the enthusiasts that we're hearing from, except for a lot of the Honda guys, I don't really feel like the sport is nearly as big as it was. I mean, I don't feel the sport's not nearly as big as it was. And this is a guy that loved drag racing, right? I love drag racing. That was like kind of what I grew up doing. So there's that. I know there's a lot of Honda guys that are using our stuff. I do think that there is a ton of good fit on those cars. We have history in drag racing way back into the to the mid to early 90s. So we've been doing that stuff for decades. Now, the one thing I'll caution people on, especially more for the Honda stuff, is when you run a smaller wheel in a drag setup, especially if you're doing like a kind of like a front wheel drive type setup, then you do have to be careful about using too small of a wheel and really large slick, right? Because the problem is that when you put it on a slick, you're increasing, first off, when you increase the tire height, you're increasing the leverage point. So if you kind of imagine the wheel as being a small cog and like, you have to put a breaker bar on a nut and you kind of twist it, the higher you are, the more you extend that handle, the more torque that you're going to be putting on the center of that wheel. So you have the ability to really, do some things. And slicks, that's that sticky hook that you're going to have. Drag wheel is really not that big of a deal. You're kind of going to use some of that spin to your advantage. But just keep in mind that, if you're choosing a wheel for your car, make sure you're choosing something with a little bit of load rating and different things like that. All right, I digress.
Would most drag wheels have to be smaller than 15-inch diameter? They're generally pretty small.
No, I mean, some of the Civic guys, they tend to use like some 13s, but now a lot of them are into 15-inch. It's just, again, like I even did the same thing. Like when I was running my 2G Eclipse in a drag sense, I ran 16-inch wheels on the car and I ran a drag radial. I ran a drag radial because the car was all-wheel drive, and honestly, it wasn't the best driver, and I would rather spin than brake, right? But for the guys that were running slicks, some of those guys, they changed, they went down on brakes, or they were able to run the 2G brakes. They ran 15-inch wheels because they were able to get a slick in there. A lot of different setups for cars.
Resurrection, who just asked that, says, thanks for the info. Greatly appreciate you guys.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
We got, speaking of Civics, we got Crazy EJ8 asking, what size tire should I run on the 15x8 Ultragrams for my 99 Civic?
So here's the thing. I can't give you tire advice in any official capacity because we're not a tire company. What I would say is consult a tire manufacturer that you're comfortable dealing with. I will tell you that there's really not too many options that are out there.
Pretty close to my, I have a 98 Civic on 15 7.5 hypergrams.
Right.
And I'm running a 195 45 15.
Right, but most people will run something bigger than that. Right. You have a 7.5-inch wide wheel.
I love my tires. Yeah,
you run a 7.5-inch wide wheel, but there's
I'm
some other options
going up
out there.
to those 15.8 Ultragrams like this guy.
Yeah, so to do something like that, again, there's some other options that you have out there, but remember the car didn't take a lot of tire to begin with, so you just got to be careful, and that's one of the reasons. I do know the numbers that you want off the top of my head. You got to really do some homework, get with somebody or do some research there, and just choose the right one for you because it can kind of hurt you in one way. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're on the right size.
Blueberry, you asked what platform she's going to go with. She went probably an E36 or 46 and do a lot of Forza and Assetto, or trying to get my Assetto stuff dialed too.
Yeah, I get that. I'm sucking right now.
You love Assetto.
I've only, my sim world has just gotten started. I'm not a gamer, so like it's a little just easing into it, but I put together a rig and I probably have a solid 35 minutes of track time.
Save some of your replays. That way you can track the progress over the next year.
I
make a video
have no desire to do that. I'll know the progress if I can do better than I'm doing now.
We'll do a couple more questions here. Scott Hollingsworth says hi.
What's up, man? How are you? How's your season going?
We got FG2 Journey, Koenig for the win.
Appreciate you.
Fire emoji. CLT Brian, a little stretch on the tire for racing isn't bad, but it makes it make sense. But make it make sense. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, because you're talking about stiffening up the sidewall. And so that works to a degree, but again, it depends on what type of racing you're doing. Like road racing is probably a little bit better than if you did drag racing, because at drag racing you're going to use something a little bit more, kind of bubblish and be able to, deplete some of the air in the tire to try to get some traction.
We got Ryan Cooper saying, hello, my name is Brazil. I thought your name was Ryan. All right,
It's
Brazil.
a valid point, Ryan.
Cool. We got captured by Dylan just saying, Richie? I think he thinks you're Richie.
No.
Let's see.
I think he knows I'm not Richie.
Podcast today? I think someone asked that before, but...
Yeah, podcast. I think they're comparing trims cars, the difference between maybe buying a Z base car and a Z Nismo car.
And we'll end with Scott Hollingsworth saying, blew the engine again at Grid Life Midwest Fest, so it ended as it started.
That sucks, man. That sucks. Well, hopefully this winter allows you to kind of recuperate and kind of get ready again. That sucks. I don't know what else to say, but I've been there more than a handful of times, and it's just sucks. I mean,
so there's nothing you can do.
Is.
You just got to replace the engine. You can't.
There's a lot of things you could do, but I mean, usually when you blow the engine, I mean, you're putting a new one in. I mean, either that or you could have put in, depending on what it is, you could have put in, a stock engine, trying to do some jazz to it and whatever, or you're doing a full build again. I guess it depends on what level your car's at, right?
We got Tizzy242. Can we buy one of those flags behind you? Do we have them in the store?
So we haven't launched it yet. We have some really cool, I might pronounce this right, Nobori flags, right? The Japanese.
Nobari? I think Nobari, the ones that are like the banner flags?
No, they're more like vertical and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We have some cool merch coming to the store, and you'll be able to buy that, and that will be up there, and I think you'll enjoy that, so that should be cool.
Blueberry says, the dial-in is catching my eye, to be honest.
I get it. I mean, I get it. It's super light wheel.
What
been around for long, but it's only in 15-inch. What?
Only gloss black, right?
No. Okay. Gloss black, matte gray, gloss white in certain sizes, and there's maybe a stragglers of some of that wild gold that they had in there.
All right, we'll finish it off with Sticky 40 SX. Yep. What's the lightest wheel you offer with a 5 and 4.5, 18 9.5 high offset setup?
That's a good question. I think you're going to be somewhere between either the hypergram or it depends on the bolt pattern and the offset too. I know you said 5, 4.5, but I mean, it depends on the offset too, just the way it works out. I think heliograms are going to be pretty good. And I think ultragram may be right up there too. So just hit the website. We put up a lot of the projected weights and stuff like that there, so you can kind of go through each wheel and kind of look at your specifics and see what's what.
We'll go with one more here from S. Hinchy asking an interesting question. Do wide front tires always follow every seam on the road? 275s on the front of my G35 is a pain.
Okay, so I also on my Z I run 275s in the front too. I don't find them to be nearly as much of a pain as you do. I will say this, that the wider tire you go with on the steering end of your car, it's going to pick up and kind of fall into tracks better than some of the narrower stuff. So that is a thing. I mean, if you've especially with the Corvette guys, that's a common thing you'll hear. But it's par for the course. Let me tell you something. You like those 275s, don't you? So a little bit. But it shouldn't be too much. I mean, make sure you're at the proper tire inflation, that you're running the proper air pressure, and
Does camber affect that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to make sure you have the car set up correctly. I mean, if you're kind of cambered in, but I doubt a 275 on a G. As long as it's like a coupe, is gonna be in that area where he's in trouble already.
That seems wide. No, 275 on a G.
No, a
front?
G35.
Okay.
If it's a G35, it should be the same as a 350Z.
CLT Brian also says camber specs is a culprit too.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I mean, but the same thing goes for, and I don't know which comment he's talking about, but yeah, if you're talking about like the tracking of the car, yeah, definitely.
Good.
All right, so that's it. Thanks for hanging out with us. We do this thing every Wednesday, 2 p.m. where we come alive and we answer your questions.
Real quick,
podcast.
The guy said excessive camber probably isn't helping my situation. It's a V36 sedan.
It's an E36?
V36 sedan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, because the reason you fit 275s in the car is because it doesn't take 275s. It's not a coupe. So it doesn't have that wide wheel. You're really pushing it on there, and now you've cambered it. But listen, let me ask you this. This is a serious question. Why not just run a 255 and get the wheel and the tire fitment correct without the camber? Because once you start to get into excessive camber, you're not going to lay all that contact patch down to the ground anyway. So now it's a little off for me. Like, you know what I mean? So just think about it like that. You could still get a good squared setup, you know, similar wheel options in that thing. I'm sure that you're running some super wide wheel in the front. You've had to cambered it, and that tire is what you run because now you don't want to have something that's super stretched. I'm sure that's what it is, but still. Anyhow, that's pretty much it. Don't forget, podcast coming in on our YouTube channel, 3 p.m. Eastern, and then I think usually by tomorrow morning, all the podcast players have our podcast up. That's the KONIG Behind the Wheel podcast. Make sure you check that out. Friday content's going to be going up. It's a car walk around with Formula Drift Pro Spec driver Jeff Donati. And again, October 30th, mark it on your calendars to make sure that you set the notifications when we go live, because we will be bringing you exclusively behind the scenes of all our releases the day before the SEMA show opens, so you can see everything will be debuting just hours later. Take care of yourself. Have a good week. Talk to you next week. Peace out.